quick disclaimer, Ivogo used to be a clone company, but they recently got bought out and now their new owner wants to flip that around completely and just make authentic products. Now, I'm not being paid to do this review, but I am helping the new owner rebrand Ivogo into an authentic company, and we are working on some cool things to bring out in the very near future. The tank that I'm reviewing today was designed before I got involved, and I am going to remain as objective as I usually am in reviews, but since technically now I am part of the company, I thought I should let you know that beforehand. What's up YouTube, welcome back to Whacked. Today I'm reviewing the Ivogo Hornet RTA, and it is by far, hands down, the best atomizer I've ever used in my life. I'm just fucking around because the whole disclaimer intro thing, but in all honesty, for their first original design, I'm actually very impressed with this. It's a 24mm RTA, and when I first heard that, before I actually got it, I thought that 24 was going to be big. I thought I was going to have to use a really big mod, but I didn't realize that a lot of mods that are made for 22mm atomizers, they actually open them up so that they're around 24, and something like this, the IPV-D2, if it'll focus, it sits completely flush on there. So I was more than impressed by that because I really thought I was gonna have to use a bigger mod, and I like being able to use my smaller ones. Looking at the device itself, you get a wide bore Delrin drip tip, which I've been using. If you want, you can take it out and use a 510 adapter that it comes with and pop in your own drip tip, but because this thing can produce some very hot vapor, I've just kept this in there for the simple fact that I don't want to make it any hotter than it already is. It is a top fill design, so you just unscrew the cap to fill it up. Before you do that, obviously close off the juice flow and the airflow just to make sure that no potential leaking can happen. And the threads are just, they're actually awesome. Obviously that's something that you would have to feel. You can't see that in the video, but I guess you're just gonna have to take my word for it. The threads are really nice. I should note as well, when I got it, I told the owner that it has to be clean. I am not going to even take a look at this thing if it's covered in machine oil. I know especially with clone companies, for the most part they don't really care about cleaning them, but I told the guy that all of these need to be clean before they're sent out. So obviously I'm not over there in China making sure they're clean before they get out to you, but yeah, that's just something to note. All around the chimney, inside of that glass, you can see that there are juice holes. There's 4 of them to access the 4 slots where your cotton goes inside of the deck. They don't seem that big, I don't think, on camera or just in person looking at them, but these things wick like a motherfucker. So basically you just spin it like a lot of the newer tanks as well, and that'll open and close the juice flow. And then right below that you get your airflow. I asked him the size of the airflow, and this is the owner I'm talking about, and he told me that they're 4.6 millimeters. I don't really know what that means because they're ovals. It's not a complete diameter or anything, but I can guarantee you that there is a metric ton of airflow in this thing, and I'll show you that by vaping it. Creates a lot of vapor. Now, once you get past all of the outsides, inside is probably the most important part for most people. The deck on this is relatively unique. It's kind of a no post design, but at the same time there are posts you can see protruding. What you do is you put your coils in the top of it and they're suspended over the deck. What that does is bring the coils a lot closer to the top of the tank, or at least the top of the chimney, which is very close to the top of the tank, which is all very close to your mouth. That not only makes it hot, but it produces awesome flavor. Again, that's going to be subjective, but for me, the most important thing in things are the flavor, right? So this creates way more vapor than I will ever need, but at the same time it doesn't sacrifice flavor, but it's a very hot vape. The airflow holes beneath the coils are obviously massive as well, and you're going to need that. You're going to need big coils so that they will cover that hole, so that if you have cotton going down the sides, which obviously you need it, they're not kind of over the hole and they can drip and leak through so that it leaks. I think that makes a lot of sense. Once you get your massive coils in there, I'm using Clapton coils. I think it's ohming out to 0.47. It's some of the Coil Master Clapton wire they gave me. I think it's 26 gauge with 32 over it, all Canthal wire. Just a dual coil in there, ohming out to about 0.5. I have it at 60 watts, but it needs so much damn cotton. And you can see that it wicks really well just from looking at it and vaping it, but I'll explain it in a second. So, with the amount of cotton that you saw in that build that I just showed you, I'm using the same one. You will see how much juice flow I need to open up so that it's wicking properly. You can barely tell that they're even open, and I have never gotten a dry hit off of this. When I first built it up, I thought, okay, I'll just pop in a regular amount of cotton that I would normally use, seems decent. Cotton was still inside of the little slots for the cotton. They weren't packed in there, but they weren't hanging at the top either. I opened up the juice flow completely and it dumped all of the liquid. This thing wicks like crazy. So on the website it actually says, note, this atomizer requires a large amount of cotton due to its wicking abilities. If you don't build this right with the right amount of cotton, you may consider that a con and it will leak all over the place. But if you have enough cotton, you can open this up. You don't really need to because it wicks anyway, and just for safety reasons, I never open it up fully. But it wicks perfectly, and obviously more cotton saturated with more flavor. If your hands are clean when you're dealing with it, I find that it just gives you a very saturated vape. Now generally on tanks, I don't do that thing where you blow out first and then inhale. But the reason I do it on this one is, first of all, it's the Clapton coils. They require a longer time to heat up because they are very power hungry. And by doing that, you can heat up the coils without having juice bubble up, if that makes sense. But the main reason I do it on this tank is because the coils are suspended so high and they're so close to your mouth that if you don't do that, there can be spit back, and it is very hot spit back, which is not a good thing. By blowing out first, what I'm doing is just vaporizing that excess liquid that's inside of that's on the coils, inside of the Claptons and stuff like that, and it gets rid of that problem completely. But if you use a space coil or 2 space coils, because it's only for dual coils, it pretty much reduces that to basically nothing. But I don't know, it's completely up to you what coils you want to put in there, but I find just exhaling first solves that problem quite well. Of course, that does dump condensation onto your mod. Not sure if you can see that, but obviously with that much airflow, you're not going to get rid of condensation ever, really. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know that I prefer restricted airflow, preferably mouth to lung if it's really good. And just when it comes to blowing clouds, massive airflow, very, very hot vapes, I haven't done that in a very, very long time. I would say over a year now. But back when I used to love all the heat and all the clouds and everything, I used to vape my favorite liquid pretty much of all time, which is 12 Monkeys Orangs. That's what I have in here. And I figured, you know what, if I'm going to be vaping like this, I need to remember what I used to like so that I could compare it to that, right? So I have Orangs in here now, and it brought me instantly back. It's so hot. If you've never tried this flavor before, it's Fruit Loops flavor, which seems very generic, but this one is very different. You actually get a lot of the wheaty cereal flavor that you don't get from a lot of the Fruit Loops flavors around. But man, I've missed this for sure. It's just awesome. Obviously, this liquid gunks up your coils like a motherfucker, but since this is so hot, I find now, since I'm used to a slightly cooler vape, that if it gets that hot, I don't notice the coils gunking up that much because it's so damn hot anyway that some of the flavor is muted. But this flavor at this temperature is just, it's like nostalgia in a tank. So that's about it for all of this tank. The main pros for this, in my opinion anyway, is first of all, it's not 25 millimeters, which I like because you don't need a bigger mod to use it. You can use a smaller mod, but since it is kind of made for those power hungry coils, a single 18650 is not gonna last that long with this tank. For you guys that like to build massive coils, you can really do it in here. I think the lead holes for the wires are around 2.5 millimeters, and it's decent enough. You can fit some really big coils in there. I'd say dual fuse Claptons, that kind of thing if you want to. And I have 2.5 millimeter diameter coils in this right now. I could definitely bump that up to 3, maybe even 3.5, but I figured just for the fact that I'm using it on a single 18650 device, I don't want to make it that power hungry. This is completely subjective, but the airflow is ginormous. There's so much of it. If you like that, then it's good. If you don't like it, then you probably won't like it, but considering what it's made for, I'd say this is very suitable, and it needs it because it gets that hot. That heat could be another concern for some people. If you like a really hot vape, if that's the kind of flavor you like to enjoy in vape, you're going to love this thing. It is so freaking hot. Obviously that comes down a bit to like what build you have in there as well, but the fact that the coils are suspended, that makes a pretty big difference. I like the fact that I will never get a dry hit off of this because it wicks like crazy. That is kind of subjective in the sense that if you don't like using a lot of cotton, this is not going to be for you because you need a lot of cotton. But the fact that the coils are so close to your mouth, it doesn't dilute flavor at all, and I think they nailed that pretty well. Building it is relatively easy. It does take a few more tries than a regular, like a velocity post or something like that. What I would recommend is find the right height for how long your leads need to be so that the coil is in the right position, if you know what I mean, and make one coil and use that every time you build it. Just line it up, cut them at the same length so you're not going to make any mistakes, so you're not going back and forth, in and out, trying to find the correct height. At least until you got the hang of it and you can do it just by memory basically. So the most important thing that I like about this tank and everything that will be coming from Ivogo in the future is the price. This thing is going to retail for 21 US dollars, which is incredibly cheap for what you're getting. The fact that it's a heavy tank, it's 316 stainless steel, it's good material, the threads are smooth, it's an authentic product at a clone price, which is awesome. So 21 US dollars, I think that works out to like 27 Canadian. If you're ordering from North America, it's going to ship from North America, so that will cut down the shipping time as well. You don't have to order it from China. I've seen it one place already, and that's on Fastech. I've spoken to the owner about this. Apparently Fastech did not make an order. They're doing some workaround like how they normally do, and they're kind of shafting people in that process. I don't know about that. They're charging around 21 bucks as well, but I mean, I would personally order from the Ivogo website if you want one, just because if you're in North America, they're gonna ship from North America. Otherwise, I don't think there's much else I need to say about this. It is what it is. I think it looks really good. I think it vapes really good for what it's made for. This is not going to replace like my K-Fun version 5 clones that I just got, but at the same time, if I ever want that hot, cloudy experience, I know I have it here and I know it's gonna do a good job, and I will never get a dry hit, because when you're producing that much vapor, getting a dry hit with that much cotton and that hot of a vape, it's a horrible experience. So if you have any questions about this tank or anything about Ivogo now, the new Ivogo, everything, any questions about that, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll do my best to answer them all as best as I can. And that's about it. So thank you so much for watching. Links are in the description. I will see you again soon.